Hi, I'm Salarah Starre and welcome to the Salarah Starre podcast. With over 20 years of experience, I've had the privilege of working with thousands worldwide and sharing my expertise across various media platforms. This podcast is your go-to resource for mastering manifestation and unlocking your ultimate magnetism. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode, and let's dive in. And a very, very warm welcome back. Salarah here. It is so lovely to be with you, no matter where you're listening in the world. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. And today is going to be a very, very interesting episode because I'm going to introduce you to a concept that you may not have been introduced to before, which could potentially open up a whole new world for you, which is no doubt why you're tuning into this podcast in the first place. We have been speaking a lot about shadow work in recent episodes and the importance of it and nervous system dysregulation and why it's important to regulate your nervous system. And today I want to take you a little bit deeper on the topic of shadow work, not just the part of shadow work that is the hurt and the pain and the darkness and the wounds, but a truth that you may not even know about or have completely missed up until now. It's not just about the wounds and the hurt. It's also about uncovering the parts of you that are quite frankly brilliant, gifted, super powerful, and magnetic. The parts that are hidden within you without even realizing it. And it's natural that when people hear the word shadow, they kind of automatically think about darkness and trauma and wounds and parts of themselves that they don't really want to face, rather pretend aren't there or don't even know are there in the first place. And yeah, as we've discussed loads on previous episodes, your unhealed parts do live in the shadow. So those protection mechanisms, the survival patterns, the emotional echoes from your childhood that still seem to sabotage your present. But, my lovely ones, that's only half the story. The other half is the light that you have tucked away in your shadow, your gifts, your creativity, your intuition, your fire, your determination, your voice, your truth, your boundaries, your inner power, your extraordinary capacity for love, for connection, for receiving, and all the things that made you unique before the world trained you out of yourself. Shadow work is where your pain, but also your potential sit side by side. And when you move through life without knowing that, when you move through life without looking at your shadow, without doing the deeper work, you don't just keep repeating destructive patterns, you also keep suppressing your magic. You keep your own brilliance covered over, you keep it underground, tucked away. You unintentionally dim your magnetism without realizing that your light shines so bright and it's always there. It's just simply waiting for you to come back to it. It's waiting for you to reconnect to it. And energetically, this has a massive impact on your vibration. Avoiding your shadow doesn't keep you positive. Avoiding your shadow, it keeps you dense. It keeps your energy heavy. It keeps it stagnant. It keeps it stuck. And that's when you have feelings of frustration, impatience, because you're carrying emotional weight that was never meant to be carried for as long as you've been carrying it, but also probably not even meant to be carried alone. Your body absolutely feels everything. Your body remembers absolutely everything that you have not had capacity for one reason or another to feel. It might be an avoidance to feel because it's scary what you might find. You may never have ever felt because that's the kind of environment that you grew up in. Or it might be other reasons, but your body knows, your body holds it, your body remembers. It comes out in so many different ways. Sometimes it can come out in physical ailments, whether it's migraines or knee ache or anxiety. Your whole body holds it until one day it can't hold it anymore. And then you go on a journey to start revealing it, healing it, and releasing it. But this is why shadow work is so essential if you're on a law of attraction, manifestation, mindset, self-actualization journey. Because you can only attract what you actually feel safe enough to hold. And you can only feel safe to hold it when the parts of you that are scared, that are wounded, that are frozen in time, they finally feel seen, understood, and integrated. This is the exciting part. When you alchemize the shadow that is in pain, you release the shadow that is in its power. I love that so much. This is how we connect to our talents and our gifts. This is where they are truly revealed. So shadow work isn't just the dark, dreary descend into the lower worlds of our suppressed past. It's actually where we reveal our light, the parts of us that are ready to shine brightly. And that's why today we are going to explore various pathways that can help you go deeper into this journey, deeper into your subconscious mind and into the shadows, so that you can stop manifesting from wounds. You can stop manifesting from desperation or fear or lack, and start manifesting from your power, from a place of fun and joy and creativity, and just for the sheer enjoyment of wanting to create an amazing life for yourself and enjoying the journey along the way. So I pondered on this because there's so many different ways to work with this. I'm going to share 3 with you today. And my aim is for this to help you connect with more of your gifts that are waiting and ready to be revealed. So if you take just one thing away from this episode today, let it be this. You will not heal by analyzing the story. You heal by understanding the pattern your subconscious mind is running beneath the story, because the story is just a side effect of the pattern. I guess I can illustrate this by saying that your subconscious mind, it doesn't operate in language. It operates in familiar repetition. So in other words, it operates with familiar sensations. It remembers familiar emotional climates. It remembers how you felt in the room, not what was said in the room. It's one of those old sayings that you never really remember what someone says. You remember more about how they leave you feeling. And this is very true for shadow work as well. So when you're stuck in a loop, let's say whether it's in relationships or money or boundary violations or lack of self-worth, or even kind of experiencing negative outcomes in your manifestation practice, it's very rarely about what's happening on the surface. There's always something else going on underneath. It's the pattern. It's the familiar sensations. It's the familiar emotional climates that your nervous system has become accustomed to that keeps pulling you back into the old version of yourself. For some people, that might seem like people pleasing. For some, it might look like shutting down in conflict. And for others, it might be perfectionism or overfunctioning, or perhaps even chasing unavailable partners. Now, what matters most is not the behavior, right? What matters most is the origin. Who taught you that love felt like this? Who taught you that safety felt like this, or lack of safety felt like this? Who taught you that being small or silent or over responsible was the way to survive? Because when you start tracking the pattern, when you start tracking the familiar sensation and you trace it back along your timeline, instead of getting lost in the story, everything opens up for you. It means you're going to stop fighting the wrong battle, which is probably why you're looping in the first place. It means that you're going to stop trying to control the external world, which never really gets you anywhere anyway. All it does is continues to feed the problem. So when you stop trying to control the external world, you're going to start transforming the internal one. So healing really begins the moment that you say, I'm not reacting to the present, I'm reacting to the memory. And when you go straight into the memory and you do some work around that memory, you are alchemizing that memory, and that part of you that's been stuck in pain, it then starts to move back into its original gifted state. And that's when your gifts start to come to light, because you're no longer operating in that survival mode, moving problems around in the same paradigm. So that part of you that no longer has to survive in that way anymore, it moves back into its original form, whether that's inner power or playfulness or creativity or joy or strength or courage, transforms back into that original form. So that's why our gifts are revealed through the alchemization of our wounds, which are also in the shadow. And this has been what I've witnessed in my coaching practice time and time again. When a person meets a specific wound, suddenly they don't feel fearful anymore, and they're able to stand up and put boundaries in place. When people meet a wound of feeling insecure, and that insecurity leads to feelings of need to control, when that's alchemized and that person feels secure and they no longer have to run that old pattern anymore, they start to feel more secure within themselves, which means they start making decisions that are built on strong, solid foundations. So they feel more empowered. So the gift of their empowerment now starts to shine through. So this is powerful work. So yeah, it might seem like, oh, I've got to go into the shadow and do that deep, dark shadow work. But my friends, what you're going to get from that is absolutely phenomenal. This is where you turn your garbage into your gifts. This is where your darkness turns into your light. And this is where your light starts to shine bright again from deep inside your being. And this is where your magnetism goes to completely new levels, and it becomes way more effortless. You don't have to put in half as much of the work in order to attract and experience good. So then the second one is meeting the part of you that is making the decision. So this is kind of like one of the biggest parts of shadow work, law of attraction, magnetism activation that we tend to overlook. So manifestation is not really about desire, although desire does play a role in it. It's more about the part of you who is creating the desire in the first place. Is that part of you that's creating the desire coming from fear and lack and limitation? Or is that part of you that is creating the desire coming from a place of joy and playfulness and not really beholden onto an outcome? It's just enjoying the process. The second one is going to get you extraordinary results. So we need to look at the part of you that is running the show, the part of you that is scared, the part of you that is wounded, the part of you that fears abandonment, the part of you that might still be frozen back in time because something big or traumatic hit you and impacted your system, and energetically, emotionally hasn't been able to move on from that. And as much as I love affirmations and as good as I think they are, it won't matter how many of them you say. You're going to keep creating from the same internal landscape until that is alchemized. So shadow work in this sense, it does invite you to become curious. So instead of fearing what you find there, it's getting excited, because this is, like I say, turning your darkness into your light, your garbage into your gift, your wounds into your wisdom. So within your wound is your wisdom. Within your garbage is your gift, even though I don't really see it as garbage. It's just a terminology, of course. But that's why shadow work doesn't have to be this big, dreary, awful, fearful, heavy thing. It's exciting because we're going treasure hunting, if you like. So if we start asking ourselves, like, who inside of me is making this choice? Is it the wounded part of me that is making this choice? Or is it the wise part of me that's making this choice? And you'll know, because if it's feeling like there's a sense of frustration or impatience or coming from a sense of fear, you'll know that it's the limited, scared, wounded part of you that's making the choice. Again, if it's coming from playfulness and not really feeling hell-bent on an outcome, just enjoying the process and having fun and kind of experimenting with life, then you'll know that that's coming from the part of you that has already turned its wounds into its wisdom. It's coming from that wise part of you. It's coming from the carefree part of you. It's coming from the part of you that enjoys life and enjoys the process of creation, but isn't hell-bent on the outcome. So is it the woman who knows her worth that is making the choice? Or is it the child who felt the burden? Is it the man that knows that he is good enough? Is it the man that knows his worth? Or is it the little boy who felt like nothing he ever did was good enough? Who felt like he had to prove that he was good enough, that he had to people please? Is it the grounded adult or the part who learned that connection meant pain, that connection meant chaos? Is it the empowered self or the self who learned that expressing needs wasn't safe, so shutting down was the only option? So this is where inner child healing does become essential. It sounds a little bit kind of woo-woo. Could, heal your inner child, I'm doing inner child work and da-da-da. No. It's not woo-woo. It's definitely worth exploring. Some of the biggest shifts that I've made, and a lot of guys and women that I've worked with over the years who have explored inner child work, they have had phenomenal shift as a result of it. So inner child work is absolutely essential because there's going to be a little child inside of you that has had to learn to adapt in order to get their needs met, which was great up until a certain point, but now it's actually causing problems. It's sabotaging your success. So it's no longer serving you, it's limiting you. So when you go in and do some of that inner child healing and that's resolved, that's when your gifts shine so bright. That's when everything starts to change on deep levels. And that's when we begin to understand that your shadow isn't just darkness. Your shadow isn't just pain. Yes, it is every abandoned age of you that never got the love or the praise or the validation or the safety that they needed. Those younger parts absolutely still influence your decisions today. But the inner child work isn't just about revisiting the pain. And this is what I want to make absolutely clear on this episode today. It's about learning to reparent yourself, becoming the voice that you needed back then in present time. So you're no longer having that echo ripple through all the ages until now, which is still creating havoc in your relationships or your finance or your health. So learning to become that parent to yourself in those moments that you never had. It takes practice. It's not something you can just read one book on and hey presto, you've now healed your inner child and you're now the best inner parent. It takes learning about it and then consistency and showing up with it. It's about becoming the version of you who knows how to give that younger self what they were missing, to give them the support that they needed, to give them the reassurance that they needed, to give them healthy boundaries so that they could feel safe, to give them the unconditional love that they needed, and to give them the presence that was missing. Now, this isn't to blame our parents. It isn't to shame anyone. Everyone's doing the best that they could with the wisdom and information that they had at the time. This is about you coming home to yourself. This is where you learn to say on deep levels, I've got you. I'm here. I'm listening. I hear you. I see you. And you don't have to work so hard to protect me anymore because I'm here. When that happens, and when you start to hit that on the deep levels, your whole internal vibration shifts. Something powerful is released as a result of this. And that's when your internal vibration unlocks from that protective shutdown into openness, into lightness, into expansion. And that's when you start to notice your external reality mirroring this inner shift. Your relationships start to change. The people you attract in your life start to mirror this new sense of safety and inner support and reassurance and love that you have from within you. Because remember, as within, so what is going on within us is mirrored in our external reality. As within, so without. And quite often, if we don't like what we're seeing in our external reality, it's because there is something within that we haven't healed or released or alchemized yet. So all of this is available to each and every one of us. That feeling of stability and that feeling of support and that feeling of calmness, it's all available. And this is the gifts which are waiting for us to release once we hit those parts of the shadow that have been fiercely protecting us for so long. When you do this, your subconscious is going to totally rewire itself. It almost gives like a feeling of relief and it relaxes. Like I said, your energy shifts, your energy raises, the whole vibration raises. And you then stop taking action from wounds. You stop taking them from the wounds that you didn't know were still driving your metaphoric car of your life. You start manifesting from the wisdom, from the playfulness, from the lightness within you. And that's when the results start to become really interesting. So moving on to number 3, and this is about bringing the body into the conversation as well. Because your subconscious mind, it does not just live in your mind. It lives in your body. Many of us have spent so long disconnecting from our body because it's actually been too painful. The feelings that we had that we didn't know how to resolve were so painful that we're forced into our head and overthinking and trying to logicalize our way out of things and suppressing our emotions, which serves a purpose to a certain extent. But then we reach pain points in our life that we can't seem to move beyond. And this is when we start to realize that there was a lot more than just saying an affirmation. This is where the body really starts to show us where we need to go in order to grow. That when we suppress our feeling, we also suppress our healing. So it speaks through the tightness in your chest, the pressure in your throat, the butterflies in your stomach. It speaks through the emotional shutdown, the feeling of numbness, perhaps the overwhelming feeling of tears or perhaps suppressed emotion. It speaks through the defensiveness, the dismissiveness, the urge to run. It speaks through clinging to things or trying to fix things. And when people tell me that they're doing all the things the books tell us to do when it comes to mindset and manifestation, but nothing is shifting, this is usually why. Their body feels afraid. Your nervous system is protecting you, even though something is inherently good for you and it's going to change your life because it's unfamiliar. Your nervous system is going to protect you at all costs. And this is why it's important to slow down enough to feel what is happening internally rather than bypassing it, whether we're bypassing it with tools or we're suppressing it because we don't know what to do with it when we feel it. So when you are triggered by something, say it's something that your husband or your wife says, or something a colleague does, or a bill, unexpected bill that comes through the post, or somebody who kind of, a cold caller at the front door. When you feel triggered by something, notice where that lives in your body. And it does mean that you're going to need to slow down for that. Where does this trigger live in my body? You might notice it's a tightness in your solar plexus or a heavy feeling in your chest. It could be your stomach doing somersaults. It's going to live in your body somehow. It could be in your throat. And once you're able to connect to where that is in your body, and sometimes this does take practice, by the way. So if you're not used to connecting to emotions, if that's completely alien, you may need to do this a lot in order to eventually be able to tune into where this is living in your body. You can then ask yourself, what emotion is underneath this feeling? So let's just say it is a tightness in your chest. What emotion is underneath that? It might be fear. Might be anxiety, might be sadness, might be grief, might be anger. And then the next important step is like, is this discomfort, is this feeling that I'm feeling, is it a current feeling or is it actually from a memory? Is this like a familiar feeling? And you can trace it down the timeline of your life. Like, when do I remember feeling this when I was younger? And again, this takes practice. Quite often, especially when I'm working one-to-one with people, and I ask, when did you first feel this? Trace this back to the very first time you ever remember feeling this. Quite often it will be somewhere when they're younger. So something happens when we're younger and it impacts us quite a lot, and we're not able to deal with that or heal it or talk it through with somebody so it stays there. So we are then continuously triggered by that for the rest of our life until we do this kind of work. And then that's when we go into some of the inner child work or some other great techniques, whether it's internal family systems or compassionate inquiry. There's so many different things that we can then do with that. And when we start to connect the dots and have conversations with these emotions from the past in the various forms I've mentioned, we can start resolving that energy. We can start inner parenting. We can kind of start course correcting. We can inquire, like, what story am I telling myself around this? And how is the story relevant to where I am right now? Quite often we can construct stories around feelings that we have. But when we actually analyze those stories, we realize that actually they're just protection mechanisms. It's something that we've actually made up in our mind, and we don't actually have any factual evidence that these stories are true, will be true. Yet because it's a feeling that's being activated in our body, we take action as if that story was true. And then we create this kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. But imagine if we can intercept that right at its source. So we don't have to go into storytelling or then taking action from the wounded part of self, embedding the cycle even more, creating even more of the thing that we're trying to get away from. Because when our body starts to feel safe, that's when our nervous system starts to heal and relax. When your nervous system heals and relaxes, your vibration opens and expands. So instead of being in that constricted, protective mode in fight or flight, the parasympathetic nervous system is now activated, and we are now accessing energies and vibrations that we were unable to access because we were in protection mode, fierce protection mode. But this is now our vibration opens and expands, and we have access to so much more. And this is where the magnetism increases very naturally. And this is where you're no longer creating from the wounds. You're no longer creating from your fear. You're creating from fun and playfulness, and you're creating from alignment and your true inherent power. So remember, there are gifts within your shadow. Shadow, it's not just about meeting your wounds. It's about reclaiming your power. Your shadow holds your passion, your motivation, your enthusiasm, your intuition, your fire in your belly, your sensuality, your depth, your discernment, your true voice, your inner power, and everything that you were once told was too much or not enough. Everything you shut down to survive, when you alchemize the pain, you free the gift underneath it. And your life starts matching who you really are rather than who you had to learn to be to survive. So those 3 pathways that take you deeper: work the pattern, not the story, meet the part of you that is making the decision, and bring the body into conversation. And woven through all of this is the truth that your shadow is not just the place you hide from. It's the place you return to when you're ready to reclaim your light. And that's powerful. So if today's episode, if it stirred something inside of you, or you're realizing that you're ready to go deeper into this work, there are some next steps that you can take. You can download your free energetic reset from my website. This is my free guide that's designed to help you clear your subconscious blocks, release emotional weight. It goes into additional tips and tools and strategies in addition to what I've shared today, and it helps you shift your energy on a much deeper level. It's packed with tools and wisdom that support exactly the kind of shadow alchemy that we've been talking about today. You can also explore some of my meditations, which are available for free on Insight Timer. Of course, there is the opportunity to make donations, which is always very much appreciated. So thank you to those of you that have done so. There are loads of different types of meditations and healings on there. You can connect with your future self. That's really beautiful and powerful. You can also cut cords with old relationships that no longer serve you and any negativity that might still be binding you. And you can relax your nervous system through a very deep body scan meditation. So they're all there. It's all there to help you regulate your nervous system and open pathways for your real transformation. And if you're feeling that you would like the deeper support, you're always welcome to reach out about one-to-one coaching. We can have a little chat. It's usually around half an hour to see whether it's a good fit. We can have a conversation around what you're struggling with and how I can potentially help. And if I can't, I will signpost you in a different direction. And my one-to-ones are where we unravel the patterns at the root. And this is where we rewire the subconscious through some of the work that we've been talking about today, and also activate the version of you who can genuinely hold the life that you're calling in, which I'm so excited about. Everything that you need is linked in the show notes. And as always, if this resonated with you, it would mean so much to me if you could leave a review on whether it's Spotify or Apple, and share it. If there's somebody that you know that may need to hear this today, share it with them. And if it's resonated, then drop me an email or send me a message. I would love to hear how this landed for you today. It really warms my heart when I receive these emails and messages, and it kind of gives me the impetus to keep going as well. Anyway, I'm sending you so much love on your journey. And if there's ever anything that you would like to explore, if you have any questions that you would like me to answer on air, I would absolutely love to do that as well. All right. But for now, I will be back with you same time next week. Take care. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to the Salarah Starre podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you hit subscribe so that you never miss out. And you can stay connected with me on Instagram at Salarah Starre. And for even more inspiration and explore my courses and coaching at salarahstarre.com. You deserve to live a deeply connected and fulfilling life. And it's only you that can make it happen.